It all kicks off at the first academy of Qingyang City, with a massive pillar of light ripping right through the sky. The crowd instantly loses their mind seeing that the genius student, Su Xiaojing, is causing a total anomaly during her awakening. The girl holds a firm stance while the whole process goes down. The students start buzzing, guessing if she's gonna land a high-tier class, noting that the holy light definitely points to something way overpowered. The teacher is practically vibrating with joy, realizing his luck has finally turned around, and points out to everyone that the light is taking the shape of a weapon. A giant, fancy sword materializes, glowing like crazy right in the middle of the magic circle. Next thing you know, a delicate hand grips the weapon's hilt like she means business. An imposing six-winged angel shows up in the pillar of light, wielding the giant sword. Totally stunned, the teacher realizes it's a legendary class with holy stats maxed all the way out. He immediately announces loud and clear that Su Xiaojing just awakened the epic six-winged angel class and scored the holy light sword. The angel floats majestically, lighting up the entire academy. The students absolutely lose it, cheering for the sheer power of the school's #1 idol. Watching from the sidelines, Wei Dao admits the girl is actually pretty impressive for landing an epic class. 300 years ago, space vortexes popped up all over the globe, linking Earth to secret realms and kicking off an absolute nightmare. Superpowered mutant beasts poured out of these unknown zones, attacking civilization and causing a massive amount of casualties. After that whole mess, humanity gained the power to awaken classes and level up by clearing out those secret realms. Because of this, people mastered the ability to go toe-to-toe with the mutant creatures. Throwing hands directly became the main way to survive against the beasts. The classes were split into 5 main categories, going all the way from low tier up to epic. But there are rumors floating around about unknown hidden classes that totally break the standard ranking system. Wei Dao pats himself on the back for grinding hard on his studies ever since he reincarnated into this world, focusing entirely on his awakening day. The teacher congratulates Su Xiaojing for being the first person in the city to land an epic class this year. The girl bows her head in thanks and promises to keep grinding. Then she steps off the stage and walks right past our MC. She gives him a heads up that she's about to prove who the real genius is, totally sick of being stuck in his shadow for the past few years. The crowd takes the chance to hype her up, betting that she's finally gonna leave Wei Dao in the dust. Not wasting a single second, the teacher calls Wei Dao up to be the next one to awaken. As the guy walks up, the students seriously doubt his high grades will score him a class better than the school idols. The instructor quietly gets his hopes up, crossing his fingers that the kid gets an epic class and brings some major clout to the academy. The young man steps into the center of the awakening platform, dripping with confidence. With energy surging through his veins, the kid gives the green light to start the process. He clenches his fist, gathering up rays of light as he officially declares his awakening. A brutal energy explosion sends a shockwave of wind blasting across the whole area. The pillar of light wrapping around Wei Dao hits a colossal height, completely freaking out the audience. The sky quickly turns dark and stormy, making the students realize that the angel's warm, cozy vibe is gone, replaced by a freezing chill. A giant hooded skull forms in the clouds, giving absolutely everyone the creeps. A bunch of other freaky skeletons start flying through the sky around the main spooky image. Sweating bullets, the teacher admits he's never seen an anomaly this weird and wonders what on earth the kid is pulling off. Even knowing they're just phantoms, Su Xiaojing feels a shiver run straight to her bones. Right in the eye of the shadowy vortex, the MC just embraces that rush of power. He focuses the energy of the purple tornado, praying to hit the ultimate gacha jackpot. The dark aura swirls like crazy all around the guy's body. A blinding flash of light explodes, locking the power right into the center of the altar. Out of all that insane energy, a basic everyday shovel just floats there in midair. Wei Dao grabs the item with both hands, totally speechless at what just happened. The teacher reads the system notification, announcing the student unlocked the hidden class Undead Summoner equipped with a shovel. A super awkward silence drops over the entire audience. Then the students just burst out laughing, roasting him because all that flashy effects show only spawned a miner's shovel. Crossing her arms looking real smug, Su Xiaojing figures she just won their little rivalry. The MC just stares at his own gear, convinced there's gotta be some glitch behind this massive letdown. Without skipping a beat, he decides to pop open his own info panel to see what the heck just happened. The system shows he's got the eternal immortality talent, letting him stack summons infinitely. Hyped up, he realizes his hidden class lets him build a literal army of the undead, totally different from everyone else. With that in mind, the guy figures his shovel probably isn't just some random hardware store tool either. The panel reveals that burying enemies with the tool hooks the user up with extra loot. He flashes a huge grin, realizing he's gonna get experience from taking down monsters and score bonus prizes just for digging their graves. The teacher taps the student's shoulder and asks him to show off his skill, fully believing the power has gotta be insane. Wei Dao holds out his hand, firing off a summoning spell. A purple magic circle pops up on the ground, shooting out sparks of electricity. A basic, squishy, unarmed skeleton rises up right in the middle of the magical light. Checking the creature out, the teacher notices it's a skeleton mage, the absolute lowest tier of monster possible. He puts his hand on the summon's head, trying to figure out why a hidden class would spit out something so flimsy. But the creature just crumbles into a pile of bones from that one tiny tap. The crowd cracks up again, making fun of the monster for not even surviving a simple flick. Unbothered, Wei Dao just gives a confident little smirk. The teacher tries to make the kid feel better, saying a low-level mage really isn't meant to be a tank anyway. Right then, the guy just snaps his fingers in the air. Dozens of purple magic circles bloom in the sky all at once. The teacher takes a terrified step back as a literal rain of skulls comes crashing down around them. The summoner makes it crystal clear that the game totally changes if he can call all of them out at the same time. Standing in front of a massive crowd of glowing undead, he asks how the bad guys would handle all that. The skeleton army lines up looking totally intimidating, just waiting for the word go. The students are left completely speechless by the ridiculous number of creatures. Sweating cold, Su Xiaojing finally gets that the real muscle behind his summon is the insane numbers advantage. The teacher smiles, looking satisfied, figuring this must be the special talent hiding behind the hidden class. Keeping the good vibes rolling, the teacher assures Wei Dao he's got a bright future ahead, even with the slight hiccup of his starter gear. Then the master asks the kid to pack up his summons so they can wrap up the ceremony, which he does right away. Recalling his army, the MC thinks to himself that everyone assumes he can only call standard skeletons, but he saw something extra at the altar. During that anomaly, the legendary skeleton dragon also made a cameo, basically guaranteeing that sooner or later, that beast is gonna be his summon. An hour later, the Academy's event finally wraps up. The teacher announces the end of the ceremony, giving props to all the students who successfully awakened their classes. He gives a heads up that the next morning everyone's heading to the beginner dungeon to level up, and scoring good results will earn them some sweet rewards. Walking through the courtyard, Wei Dao thinks it's a stellar idea, since he gets to grind levels and bag some bonus points on the side. Meanwhile, the students huddle up in little groups outside to talk about their game plans. Shooting his shot, some guy walks up to Su Xiaojing and suggests they team up for tomorrow's challenge. Having zero patience for it, the girl shoots the offer down instantly and tells the dude to get out of her way. Ignoring the guy, she turns around and calls out to Wei Dao, telling him to hold up a sec. The MC stops walking and asks what she wants to talk about. Straight to the point, Su Xiaojing says today's showcase didn't prove who's top dog, suggesting they run it back and compete again in the dungeon. With his shovel resting on his back, the guy accepts the challenge on the spot but immediately talks trash, saying she has zero chance of beating him. Triggered by her opponent's cockiness, the school idol snaps back that he's talking a whole lot of nonsense. Playing Captain Save-A-Ho, the rejected student pulls out a glowing sword, absolutely livid seeing Wei Dao talk to the girl like that. The guy charges in, threatening to break the MC's legs so he can't even enter the dungeon, but the strike gets easily blocked by the shovel. Right then, Su Xiaojing steps in, calling the swordsman Qian Zhao and telling him she doesn't need a bodyguard because she's gonna win fair and square. Backing off super salty, Qian Zhao tells the kid he's only letting him off the hook for her sake, warning him to watch his back tomorrow. The warrior drops one last threat, swearing he'd put the summoner in a hospital bed for a whole month if it were up to him. Totally unfazed by the fake tough guy act, Wei Dao just nods and says hell be waiting. The next day, the students are bussed over to a massive, heavily guarded military facility. The place is the official testing ground where the training dungeons are set up. Mingling in the crowd, the students hype each other up about their first challenge, chatting about the 3 secret realms in the area. One of them agrees but complains that newbies are only allowed in the weakest zone, totally wanting to check out the other spots. While they wait for the rundown, Su Xiaojing struts over to the MC again. The girl asks if he's going solo or partying up, getting the very obvious answer that he's flying solo. Happy with his answer, she guarantees she's playing solo too, just so he can't use the excuse that he lost because he had carry help. Suddenly, an instructor on a platform grabs everyone's attention, calling out to the students over a megaphone. Using the mic, the guy explains the challenge runs for 8 hours, and hitting level 3 scores them bonus points on the exam. The kids listen to the rules super closely, totally locked in on getting the highest score possible. On top of that, the instructor drops the hint that taking down tougher monsters yields bigger bonuses, officially kicking off the test right after. The massive spiral portal for the Barren Plains dungeon glows bright, ready for the challengers. Without wasting a single second, the massive mob of students makes a mad dash right into the magical vortex. Strolling in casually at the back of the pack, Wei Dao finds his classmates' try-hard energy hilarious. Standing at the portal, the kid decides he should probably put a little more pep in his step for this mission too. The second he steps through the magical rift, the MC lands on a bright, lush green lawn. Looking around, he notices he's totally flying solo, and figures the portal drops everyone off at random spawn points. While checking the place out, a weird noise coming from the bushes catches the summoner's attention. He quickly spots a prairie groundhog, joking that the lowest level mob in the zone looks pretty harmless. But out of nowhere, the little critter opens its mouth and lets out a crazy aggressive screech. Spooked by the sudden mood swing, the guy covers his ears, wondering why the little furball just went full psycho. In the blink of an eye, the groundhog launches itself right at his face at breakneck speed, leaving the kid totally stunned by its agility. Unable to dodge in time, the MC takes a direct hit from the wild little animal's sneak attack. The beast sinks its teeth into the guy's clothes like it means it, but he just stares at it looking completely bored to tears. Cold and calculating, he watches the tiny creature dangling from his shoulder, without flinching even a little. Running out of patience, the kid grabs the groundhog by the scruff of its neck and tells it to let go of his arm right this second. Holding the critter up in the air, he lectures it, asking where it got the audacity to pull a stealth attack on him. With that, he chucks the monster at the ground and delivers a brutal kick, launching the thing into next week. The groundhog goes tumbling across the grass, squealing in pain from the heavy hit. Checking the rip in his clothes, the MC admits that if he hadn't reacted fast, he would have caught a pretty nasty bite. Not leaving anything to chance, he snaps his fingers, letting the animal know it's about to face the consequences of its actions. A dark aura blankets the area as a creepy skeleton mage pops up via summoning mat. Right after, dozens of other skulls erupt from the dirt all at once, giving the peaceful plains a total horror movie. The army of 50 level 0 mages forms up fast, patiently waiting for their boss to give the word. Pointing dead straight at the terrified groundhog, Wei Dao orders his squad to take out the trash. Following orders, the mages unleash a ruthless barrage of fireballs right at the lonely little target. The concentrated firepower causes a massive explosion, kicking up a ton of dust and wrecking the ground around it. When the smoke clears, the little monster's body is left extra crispy on the ground, with its soul drifting away into the... The system chimes in saying the hunt was a success, tossing him 10 precious experience points for the level 0 elimination. Looking at the payout, the summoner feels pretty let down, realizing it's gonna take forever to hit level 3 with this pocket chain. But getting hyped about his numbers advantage, the kid remembers he's got a whole army on standby to speedrun the heavy lifting. Putting the skeletons on free roam mode, he orders them to sweep the whole zone and wipe out any monster that crosses their path. Far away from the war zone, a hot cup of tea is smoothly poured onto a fancy wooden table. In a meeting room, the directors are chilling and chatting, with one of them asking if Old Wang seriously thinks he can pull off a win. Holding his teacup like a total snob, the head of the First Academy says victory is basically guaranteed. The rival spots the old man's confidence and gives props to his school for actually managing to produce an epic class student. Right then, a third guy jumps into the chat, reminding everyone that Wang's school also managed to pop out a hidden class. Hearing that curveball, the rival director does a massive spit take with his tea. Totally shell-shocked by the news, Old Man Meng asks in pure disbelief if that's actually legit. Looking smug as heck, Wang confirms the rumor, dropping that he's itching to see his students bag a few more elite monsters. While the boomers argue, the reality in the dungeon is an absolute bloodbath, with dozens of groundhogs getting blown to bits by fire. The animals' bodies are flying everywhere in the crossfire, while magic spells completely trash every inch of that green field. Leading the chaos, the Skull Horde burns everything in sight, turning the chill grassy plains into a literal hell for the local wildlife. Laying back on the grass, Wei Dao cheers about how awesome fighting actually is. Experience points just keep rolling in non-stop while the kid kicks back and relaxes. He thinks it's amazing getting levels without lifting a finger, figuring this has gotta be the ultimate perk of his hidden class. But realizing he can't just lay there forever, the summoner decides to take his little iron shovel for a test drive. Having made up his mind, the MC walks up to a creature's body and decides to bury the monster to see what happens. Not wasting time, the guy starts digging a hole and tosses the dirt right over the animal. In a matter of seconds, the basic tier monster is completely 6 feet under. After finishing his manual labor, the kid wipes the sweat off his forehead and takes a deep breath. Hyped about his handiwork, he waits eagerly to see what the bonus loot is gonna be. The system instantly pops up the granted items, making brand new gear glow right over the fresh grit. Looking at the panel, the young man notices he scored a crude bracelet, some incense, and a dark vial of corpse oil. Super confused, the student holds the incense, wondering what kind of freaky items these are, totally weirded out by the names. Even though it's creepy, the guy activates the gear right away to test out how it actually works in the field. Out of nowhere, a flood of experience points completely fills his vision. Riding that sudden wave of energy, Wei Dao instantly dings level 2 and is absolutely blown away. The holographic panel flashes bright to confirm his new milestone. Thrilled with the payout, the MC jokes that getting experience like this is way too easy. Then he grabs the dark vial and decides to test out his second digging reward. The moment he pours the liquid onto his hand, the guy gets a direct, instant buff to his physical stats. Happy with the strength boost, the kid realizes the strat is working perfectly and decides to use even more. Without a second thought, the summoner dumps the entire bottle on himself while the buffs just keep stacking up. With energy pumping through his veins, the student is absolutely amazed by how much power he just soaked up. The student checks the stats and notices the buff only lasts 10 minutes, but admits the boost is seriously overpowered. Feeling super motivated, the guy sprints across the plains with his shovel in hand, laser focused on digging a whole lot more graves. Suddenly, a warning pops up saying his skeleton mage count just dropped by 1. Startled by the explosions going off in the distance, the MC tries to figure out what the heck is wrecking his summons. A massive, totally enraged wild boar shows up, absolutely trashing his skeleton army with brutal charge attacks. The system tags the beast as a level 3 elite monster, showing off just how beefy it is. Wei Dao quickly connects the dots that his mages never stood a chance against something that high tier. The giant boar lets out a terrifying roar, making it super clear it's not here to play games. Going totally berserk, the beast launches a head-on charge, using its massive tusks as a battering ram. The impact of the sprint kicks up a dust storm as the kid realizes he just became the monster's brand new target. The summoner breaks into a desperate sprint across the plains, praying the giant animal stays far away. But the wild beast just cranks up the chase, roaring violently right behind his back. Feeling the heat of incoming doom, the guy slams the brakes, digging his heels into the dirt. He spins around to face the enemy, holding his hand out to blast some magic, ordering his summons to tank the hit. The skeletons throw themselves in the way to protect their boss, but get absolutely shattered by the sheer force of the char. Even taking heavy damage, the wall of bones manages to eat most of the impact, slowing down that heavy freight train. Dropping to his knees, Wei Dao breathes a sigh of relief that he had enough bodies to avoid taking serious damage. Back on his feet, the student unleashes his dark aura, calling for another massive wave of summons. He completely surrounds the monster, noticing the beast hits like a truck but totally sucks at turning corners. Boxed in by the spooky army, the huge animal roars, trying to find a way out of the mosh pit. The kid capitalizes on the opening, fully aware that the creature's flanks are wide open after a charge. Following his cue, the dozens of skulls fire off flames all at once, triggering a massive explosion right on the target. Unable to tank the focused fire, the powerhouse elite animal finally drops dead on the grass. The victory loot drops immediately, with a golden pillar of light beaming right down on the guy. The system chimes in, announcing he just scored some elite leather armor and listing out the stat boosts. Totally shocked by his good RNG, the kid celebrates the fact that the takedown dropped such top-tier. Wasting no time, he slaps on the glowing armor, instantly feeling his vitality spike. Feeling more confident than ever, the MC whips out his magic tool, totally ready for the next phase. Not wanting to waste a perfectly good giant carcass, the summoner starts digging to see if he can score some more sweet loot. The burial wraps up, and 2 glowing orbs pop right out of the freshly turned dirt. A bit bummed, the student complains about the low drop rate, remembering that the tiny groundhog gave way better rewards. But the lights fade to reveal floating books, making the young guy change his tune instantly. The panel shows the items are magic tomes that teach phantom fire magic and boar summoning. The guy cracks a massive smile and apologizes to the dead monster, admitting the big guy was actually super generous. With the manuals in hand, he does the math and realizes his current mana pool lets him spawn over 10 of those giant beasts. With a quick mental command, the items vanish into thin air, officially confirming he learned the new skills. Purple flames dance in the palm of his hand as the system locks in his brand new powers. Itching to test drive his new muscle, Wei Dao casts the spell on the ground to call out his latest squad member. Rising from the shadows of the magic circle, the colossal beast comes back as pure bone, letting out a furious roar. The system confirms the new creature's stats are still totally worthy of an elite monster. The kid gets super hyped over the heavy backup, knowing his experience farming is about to go through the roof again. Suddenly, a slashing beam rips through the scenery nearby, setting off a violent explosion. Startled by how hard that hit, the MC glances over his shoulder, trying to figure out where the attack came from. In a clearing further out, a group of kids is having a screaming match over a giant tortoise they just stumbled upon. Pissed about getting crashed, one of the guys demands answers, pointing out his squad found the monster first. Acting like a total snob, Qian Zhao declares his raw power is the only permit he needs around here. Hiding behind a tree, Wei Dao watches the drama unfold and realizes the rival's pay-to-win gear is why he's so strong. Done talking, the swordsman swings his glowing weapon around, telling the extras to get out of his way. The shockwave sends the students flying before they even have a split second to block the hit. Using the massive distraction, the huge tortoise turns around and starts crawling away at top speed to save its own shell. Catching the escape act, the bully charges up another lethal strike, swearing the creature isn't making it out alive. But right before he can fire off his magic, dozens of skeleton mages pop out of the bushes looking totally menacing. Following direct orders, the skulls unload a barrage of fire onto the tortoise, stealing the elimination in the most epic way possible. Completely mind-blown by the sudden explosion, Qian Zhao screams, demanding to know what just happened. With the perfect kill steal secured, Wei Dao gets the system flash saying he took down the tortoise and hit level 3. Absolutely raging, the swordsman curses the MC out, asking where he gets the nerve to steal his farm. Playing it totally cool, the kid lies through his teeth, saying it was a complete accident and his summon just acted on its own. The rival isn't buying that garbage excuse for a second, swearing he did it on purpose and readies his weapon for payback. Without missing a beat, Qian Zhao fires off a massive golden energy slash, telling the summoner to eat his sword. Feeling the heat from the incoming strike, Wei Dao holds out his hand, announcing he's gonna block it. Instantly, a whole row of skeleton mages jumps right into the line of fire to tank the hit for their boss. But the raw power of the slicing magic hits the skulls head-on, turning all of them to dust in one shot. Watching his squad get totally wiped, the MC lets out a sigh seeing the aftermath. He admits that was way too close, realizing the skeletons basically acted as speed bumps to save him from a nasty cut. Freaking out in the background, the other students gossip that his summon's defense is trash and the kid is in serious trouble now. Knowing he's completely in the right, Wei Dao points out the swordsman threw the first punch, so he shouldn't cry about what happens next. Dozens of purple magic circles light up the dirt as the kid orders his squad to show zero mercy. Giant skeleton boars spawn in roaring, getting the green light to use their savage charge attack. Charging in like a maniac, the snob calls his rival a moron, claiming it doesn't matter how many bones he brings because they're all garbage. But the massive summon boar intercepts the attack, clashing head-to-head with the golden blade. Totally clueless, Qian Zhao is left speechless, wondering how a defensive wall like that is even possible. Taking advantage of the gap, the massive bone beast unleashes a deafening roar right in the hater's face. Following that up, the monster delivers a savage headbutt, sending the warrior flying backward violently. The impact launches the snobby kid through the air, giving him absolutely zero chance to protect himself. Then the stampede of skeletal beasts comes charging through the zone, steamrolling every single thing in their path. Bruised and battered, the swordsman hits the dirt, letting out a groan of pure pain. Before he can even try to get up, the boar's heavy hoof stomps down full force right on his face, crushing whatever fight he had left. The finishing blow launches Qian Zhao's body up into the air, making him drop his loot all over the place. Shaking in their boots, the other students can't even process the ridiculous power of those summoned creatures. Looking at the duo, the MC suggests they drag the bully out of the zone so he doesn't accidentally meet his maker. The guys take the order instantly, super grateful they get a free pass to leave the warzone in one piece. Moving fast, the two of them scoop up their knocked-out classmate and sprint across the green lawn. Left alone on the field, Wei Dao stretches out looking super satisfied and declares it's officially the best time of the day, grave digging time. Staring down the massive defeated tortoise, the summoner figures a carcass that huge is bound to drop some god-tier loot. Just then a creepy shadow drops from the sky, totally grabbing the kid's attention. A slimy creature slams into the ground, kicking up dust and scaring the student into jumping back. The system gives a heads up that it's a level 5 boss known as the Divider Slime. Shocked by the random spawn, the young guy thinks it's awesome he bumped into a heavyweight monster right off the bat. Gearing up for an attack, the giant blue jelly starts bubbling like crazy, looking super dangerous. Sensing the bad vibes, Wei Dao quickly pieces together that the boss is loading up some corrosive mat. Without blinking, he shoots out purple flames, ordering his phantom attack to hit the target. The slime's acid bubbles splash the ground, instantly melting the grass around it into a toxic puddle. Checking out the damage, the MC figures if that stuff hits him, he's gonna end up looking just like his skeleton crew. Soaking up energy, the gooey monster glows super bright, gearing up for a massive area of effect strike. The kid claps back by flaring his purple aura to call in the mages, telling them to go absolutely all out. Following orders, the skeleton army unleashes dozens of fireballs all at exactly the same time. The magic spells slam into each other midair, sparking a massive explosive turf war between the fire and the acid. But the shield breaks in a few spots, and the green slime hits one of his mages, melting its bones into soup instantly. Seeing his minion get dusted that easily, he realizes the mage's defense isn't gonna cut it against that kind of firepower. Switching tactics, the kid summons his stampede of giant beasts, admitting he's gotta bet it all on their raw muscle. Leading the charge, the massive boar delivers a brutal hit straight to the slime boss's core. The crash splits the jelly monster into a bunch of smaller chunks, splashing gooey water everywhere. Feeling confident about the direct hit, the student celebrates, totally thinking he just styled on the boss. But the slime quickly pulls its trump card, splitting into two seriously pissed-off monsters, proving the fight is far from over. The creatures start pulsing, aggressively charging up their energy meters all over again. Multiplying even more, the mini-slimes set up a massive bombardment using their corrosive bubble skill. Watching the enemy's game plan, Wei Dao remembers the textbook saying slimes split up when they take heavy physical damage. The summoner cracks a confident smile, swearing that cheap trick might work on noobs but definitely not on him. Flexing his magic pool, he throws his arms wide and declares that spamming numbers is literally his whole brand. The jelly army wastes zero time, launching an absolute hurricane of acid attacks straight at him. Thinking fast, the MC orders his boars to form a frontline wall to eat all the incoming damage. The giant bone beasts take the lethal hit from the green bubbles, acting as the ultimate meat shield for the squad. Using the cover, Wei Dao lines up his mages in the backline and tells them to just keep spamming bombs without stopping. A literal firestorm blacks out the sky, completely wiping the enemy's jelly minefield off the map. The heavy explosions nuke the lawn, giving the creatures absolutely zero chance of making it out alive. Soon enough, the golden pillar of light drops down, announcing the boss elimination just skipped him straight to level 7. Totally hyped about the loot pinata all over the ground, the young guy praises the crazy amount of items that just dropped. Checking out the low-tier weapons and potions, he figures he can pawn it all and make some serious bank back in the city. Old business, the kid busts out a massive cloth sack and starts vacuuming up all the battle drops. Tying up the stuffed bag, the guy smiles, looking satisfied, swearing he's never gonna hold back when it comes to hoarding loot. All of a sudden, the system chimes in saying the test timer just hit 0 and boots up the return teleport. The student's body starts glowing, making him complain out loud about why the challenge had to end so fast. In a flash of light, the kid gets yeeted back to the real world, hauling his giant sack of goodies. Around the military base, a bunch of other students start popping in, totally shocked by how fast the time flew by. Wei Dao steps off the teleport pad looking super annoyed, whining that he hadn't even started having real fun yet. Nearby, the students gossip, feeling relieved they survived, and totally hype up Su Xiaojing's insane raw power. Eavesdropping on the chat, the MC agrees that soloing a whole pack proves the angel class is actually top tier. Right then, one of his academy buddies runs up to him, saying he's been looking for him everywhere. The chubby dude named Zhang Dan waddles over all hyped up, asking what level our guy managed to hit. Wei Dao takes a wild guess and asks if his bro hit level 5. Laughing it off, the guy says that's a massive reach and he'd get a statue built if he actually pulled that off. Looking super proud, he reveals he dinged level 4 and asks if the MC doesn't think that score is totally clutch. The summoner hypes up the achievement, guaranteeing the bonus points for the exam are in the bag. Super pumped, Zhang swears he's gonna be his buddy's personal bodyguard from now on. While they're chilling in the courtyard, the duo spots someone cutting through the crowd of students right toward them. Zhang notices the school idol is coming over to start drama again and tells his bro to relax, saying he'll help deal with her. Out of nowhere, a hand reaches out and grabs the guy's shoulder from behind with a super tight grip. With zero chill, Su Xiaojing shoves the chubby kid out of the way, telling him to get out of her face right now. Caught off guard by the yank, the poor dude trips over his own feet and faceplants hard onto the concrete. Pissed off by the unprovoked bullying, Wei Dao pulls out his magic shovel and warns her he's not holding back just because she's a girl. The swordsman lunges forward fiercely, swinging a head-on strike, claiming she just wants a real 1v1 with her rival. Showing off some crazy reflexes, the kid uses his tool's handle to parry the heavy slash while sliding backward to eat the momentum. The brutal clash between their weapons kicks up dust across the yard and blasts a shockwave into the crowd watching. Not backing down an inch, the girl charges up another glowing strike, but the summoner just tells her she's moving way too slow. Swatting the energy blade away like it's nothing, the MC taunts his classmate, asking if that weak little swing was really her ultimate move. Totally shook by the flawless parry, the idol pops her vision magic, completely confused about how he blocked an almost full-power hit. The scanning spell pulls up the system's hidden stats, leaving the student jaw-dropped when she sees he speedrun his way to level 7 already. Their weapons violently bounce off each other, as she admits how salty she is for grinding non-stop, only to cap out at level 6. Capitalizing on the opening from her stepping back, the heavy iron shovel stops dead in the air, barely a millimeter from her neck. Completely owning the situation, Wei Dao stares down his opponent and asks why she didn't even try to dodge his counter. Dropping her arms and giving up the fight, Su Xiaojing sighs, admitting there was no point in moving since he beat her again anyway. The girl turns her back, telling him to take it down a notch, and swears they're settling this beef once and for all at the unified exams. Watching the girl stomp off angry, the guy scratches his head, admitting she's definitely pretty, but thinks her try-hard energy is way too much. Still thinking about it, he gives her props, realizing that hitting level 6 in a newbie dungeon on day 1 proves she's actually got raw talent. Right after, the MC flashes a wicked smirk, remembering that the snobby Cayenne kid was the perfect punching bag that helped boost his exp. Dusting off his clothes, Zhang walks up and complains that his bro should flexed his level earlier to save him from eating pavement for nothing. Having zero pity for his buddy, the summoner claps back that it's not his fault the chubby kid tried to play White Knight against the school idol. Changing the subject right in the street, the kid says he's got some serious business to handle and ditches his friend to go solo. Trekking through the city's back alleys with a massive sack of loot over his shoulder, the young guy finally hits his destination. Standing outside a huge trading market, he's laser-focused on flipping his dungeon drops to make a quick buck. Out of the blue, some sketchy dude rolls up to Wei Dao on the street and whispers, asking if he's looking to buy some premium gear. Meanwhile, a luxury car cruises smoothly down the highway, soaking up the late afternoon sun. In the driver's seat, the prodigy girl's dad checks the rearview mirror, noticing his daughter's sour mood, and asks why she's looking so depressed. Staring blankly out the window, the student questions if all her hard work is just a massive waste of time. Worried about his kid being so down, the dad tries to hype her up, promising she's easily the most goated student in that whole academy. Even hearing the pep talk, Su Xiaojing grips her arm and vents that she still got completely bodied by Wei Dao earlier today. Seeing her mega frustrated, the dad offers to go scare the kid straight and teach him a lesson so he stops blocking their family's path. The girl instantly shoots down the offer, acting super determined, claiming she's gonna grind hard and crush her rival using her own strength. She uses the chat to drop the news that the summoner roughed up the Cayenne family's kid, asking her dad to step in when those rich snobs come looking for payback. The wealthy dad lets out a loud laugh and agrees to his daughter's request, but thinks to himself that he needs to run a background check on this cocky rookie. Back at the market entrance, the scalper keeps swearing his prices are the fairest in town, but the MC shuts down the sales pitch to sell his own stash. The guy suggests they cut a deal right there to save time, making the kid realize instantly that this hustler is trying to scam a profit off him. Playing dumb and thumping his chest, the vendor introduces himself as Old Zhang, swearing his street cred is built on making the most honest trades. Totally ignoring the guy's sob story, the young dude just dumps his heavy sack on the asphalt and tells the merchant to appraise the whole pile. The second the string comes loose, a blinding golden light floods the street, leaving the middleman completely floored by what he's looking at. Inspecting the mountain of loot, Zhang pulls out a magic sword and hypes up the level 5 drop, all while listening to the kid ask for a price on the 25 pieces. The merchant thinks fast, doing some quick math in his head, and lowballs an offer of 15,000 for the whole pile sitting on the floor. Proving he wasn't born yesterday, the MC holds up his fingers and demands a minimum of 20,000 to close the deal right then and there. Moving with insane, desperate speed, the hustler grabs both of the kid's hands, locking in the deal before he can change his mind. The young guy stands there jaw-dropped, staring at his own hands, realizing he totally got fleeced and should have asked for way more money. Packing up the gear lightning fast, the vendor guesses the kid is from the first academy based on the loot, and Wei Dao just nods. Keeping his silver tongue rolling, the guy pulls out a tiny spatial bag and tries to upsell his new merch, saying the inventory space will be clutch for the big exam. Already eyeing how useful that storage artifact is, the summoner asks the price to figure out if it's actually worth the investment. The vendor spins a tale about the market value being 50,000, but claims he'll drop it to 30,000 just because he considers the newbie a real homie. Knowing full well the dude is a professional scammer, the MC points a finger right in his face and chops the price in half, offering a flat 15,000. The merchant instantly takes the counteroffer and whips out his phone with the payment QR code, making sure to mention that all sales are final. The phone screen buzzes, popping up the successful transfer receipt, wrapping up that super fast and chaotic sidewalk deal. Holding his brand new tiny bag, the kid feels the gravity of the situation and quickly realizes he just got played for a fool again by this guy. Over in a rundown part of town, an old guy with white hair hands a set of keys to a woman, letting her know the rent is only good for 1 month. The landlord says thanks, telling him he can just leave his stuff when he heads out, while the mysterious old man just nods with a deadpan look. The old man sighs heavily, thinking about his mission, deciding the family boss is totally overreacting by sending a guy like him to babysit some clueless teenager. In that same poor neighborhood, Wei Dao strolls casually down the dirt roads heading home, walking right past a really pretty woman. The neighbor, named Wu Xinyu, turns around and greets the student super enthusiastically when she spots him. The kid waves back politely as she excitedly mentions hearing rumors that he awakened and took the #1 spot at school today. Unable to hold back her hype over the news, she runs up and wraps him in a massive bear hug from behind, leaving the young guy totally frozen in the middle of the street. Keeping the super intimate hug going, the woman whispers in a soft voice that now she's got the perfect excuse to hand over his long-awaited present. Xinyu leans in real close to the guy's ear and softly asks him to close his eyes while she gets the surprise ready. Blushing beet red, the summoner starts daydreaming about how lonely the widow must be, suspecting she's been super touch-starved since her husband passed away. Completely shattering the vibe the kid was building in his head, she pulls back fast, laughing, and holds out a tiny wooden box. The young guy carefully takes the basic-looking object, staring at his neighbor with zero clue what this little gift actually is. The glowing panel pops up, detailing that the bone finger inside the box buffs undead class creatures and triggers a temporary dark transformation. Switching to a sad tone, the widow explains the relic belonged to her late husband, who is also a summoner, and suspects his demise is tied to this exact item. The woman hands it over, begging him to get justice for her dead husband, and Wei Dao instantly gets that the price for this loot is playing detective for a murder case. Staring down the wooden box with a sharp look, the student figures the power locked in that bone is ridiculous, but the danger tagging along is definitely no joke. Weighing the massive risk against his thirst for power, his hesitation vanishes and pure ambition takes over his sharp eyes. Gripping the creepy item, Wei Dao figures that where there's danger, there's gotta be massive loot. Since his neighbor always looked out for him, he decides to help her with her problem. Looking totally locked in, he promises the widow he's gonna give this mission everything he's got. Breathing a sigh of relief, Wu Xinyu hugs the student tight and thanks him a million times over. Stuck in the squeeze, the young guy thinks to himself he hasn't even pulled off the favor yet. The woman finally relaxes, saying that just him agreeing to help is already a massive weight off her shoulders. With that, the MC waves goodbye, telling her he needs to bounce and head home now. The second he steps into his own apartment, the heavy wooden door slams shut behind him. Sitting on his living room couch, the kid stares at the bone finger on the table, totally convinced this artifact is anything but basic. Not wasting any time, the summoner clenches his fist, flaring up a heavy purple aura, and decides to take the item for a quick test drive. A shadowy energy wraps around the guy's body as he triggers the undead transformation buff right on the spot. Instantly, an explosion of spooky power floods the entire room, glowing super bright. The system gives a thumbs up, confirming the skill worked, but drops the catch. Keeping this mode active drains 1% of his total experience every minute. Fully transformed into a skeleton wearing street clothes, the young guy checks out his own hands, blown away by the insane boost to all his stats. Super hyped about his brand new raw strength, he quickly figures out this magic literally upgrades every single part of the user's body. Moving his hand down near his pants, the kid tries to check if his important hardware got the magic buff treatment too. But the skeleton student starts crying tears of pure despair, realizing the upgrade completely missed the part that actually mattered most. Grabbing his own skull, he demands to change back immediately, screaming he never wants to use this trash upgrade ever again. The magic fades, giving him his human body back, and the guy sweats bullets, crying tears of joy that his original parts are safe and sound. Watching the purple flames vanish from his hand, the summoner calms down, realizing he can actually turn the spell on and off whenever he wants. Scratching his head, the kid notices the skill totally nuked a massive chunk of his experience bar in just a few seconds. Right then, his train of thought gets derailed by some heavy knocking echoing straight from his front door. Confused by the random pop-in, the student turns his head and yells out, asking who's on the other side. But the hallway stays dead silent, not giving the young guy a single peep in response. Walking slowly to the entrance, he demands an explanation, wanting to know why the person outside is playing the quiet game. The doorknob turns super slowly, and the door swings open with a sketchy, creepy creak. A menacing silhouette with glowing eyes steps out of the dark, calling the kid by his name in a totally terrifying voice. Jumping out of his skin, Wei Dao thinks he's looking at a literal ghost and throws a panic punch straight at that freaky face. The lightning-fast fist hits the target perfectly, but the strike gets effortlessly stopped by the mystery guy's rock-solid grip. Acting incredibly chill, the old man tells the kid to cool his jets, explaining he's just the new neighbor who just moved. The old guy loudly praises the kid's crazy reflexes, mentioning he's exactly the type the young miss is keeping tabs on, while the student apologizes for throwing hands. Happy with his little pop quiz, the white-haired man says he just dropped by to say hi and casually turns his back to walk away. Closing his front door, Wei Dao thinks this whole interaction was completely unhinged and silently wonders who this young miss even is. The next morning, a lone little bird is flying chill under the bright sun, lighting up the school's outdoor area. The main courtyard quickly gets packed with anxious students crowding around the academy's massive holographic scoreboard. In the middle of the mob, the girls are chattering away, hyped that today is the big day they drop the official practical exam results. Su Xiaojing marches up to the MC, demanding to know how he hacked his way to level 7, but he just casually drops that he took out a boss and a bunch of elites. The school idol's eyes go wide, absolutely livid, swearing it's literally impossible for a newbie to take down a dungeon boss this early. Up on the stage, Director Wang grabs the mic and officially kicks off the announcement for the student competition winners. The glowing screen highlights Wei Dao as the undisputed number 1, listing the insane monster eliminations that proved his level 7 ranking was totally legit. Grabbing her own hair, the young swordsman has a total meltdown, realizing her rival wasn't capping about how strong he is. The rest of the students are absolutely mind-blown that a hidden class could pop off like that, while some whisper rumors that the guy even beat the brakes off that snob Qian Zhao inside. Bursting with pride, the director announces Su Xiaojing secured second place by hunting a wolf king and hitting level 6 like a total pro. Staring daggers at her opponent's back, the girl swallows her pride and respects his grind but swears their rivalry is nowhere near finished. Flexing a super confident vibe, the summoner just turns sideways and talks some trash, saying he's always ready to take her on. Wrapping things up, Wang reminds the crowd that they've only got 29 days until the unified exam, telling them to keep grinding hard until the big day. Tuning out the gossiping extras, the MC heads off on his own across campus, already totally locked in on his next leveling goals. With the exam clock ticking down, the kid picks up the pace, dead set on hitting the dungeon plaza to speedrun his levels as fast as humanly possible. On the giant digital bounty boards, dozens of mercenary quests are offering fat stacks of cash for elite monster materials. Skimming the gig list, he admits the payouts are solid, but completely scraps the idea of going back to those boring green plains. Answering the call for adventure, the student points right at the screen and decides he's finally gonna crash the highly dangerous orc lair. Walking through the massive military lobby, the young guy blends in with the other adventurers gearing up around the giant magic teleport circles. Feeling super confident about his new stats, he steps through the blue portal, betting this harder zone will be the perfect test for his current build. An intense magic flash wraps around the adventurer, beaming him from reality straight into the mystery of this brand new secret realm. The second he drops into a dense forest, the MC gets weirded out by how chill the vibe is, doubting this is the hardcore lair he signed up for. Some tiny, totally harmless animals stop to watch the human arrive, just scurrying around the fresh grass between the massive trees. Not falling for any illusions, the kid flares his dark aura to summon his skeletons, knowing full well the mobs in this zone love to hunt in packs. Hiding up in the dark canopy of the trees, beastly creatures with glowing red eyes are tracking every single move the spooky army makes down below. A massive half-wolf beast dives out of the shadows with its razor-sharp claws aimed dead at the human's throat, without making a peep. Catching a second monster rushing in hot, the student groans about how these cowards always try to pull off stealth attacks. Completely over their repetitive playbook, he charges up a heavy purple spell, asking if every single dungeon mob shares the exact same hobby. The phantom flames blast the monster midair, making the werewolf howl in agony as the impact roasts its skin with zero mercy. The brutal hit slams the beast right into the dirt, snapping its bones and kicking up a huge dust cloud in the woods. The system panel pops up confirming the quick elimination of a level 1 gnoll, dropping 25 experience points right into the kid's account. Chilling safely behind his skull wall, the adventurer scans the darkness, totally aware that the rest of the pack is definitely camping nearby. Proving him absolutely right, dozens of rabid beasts leap out of the bushes, rushing from every angle to get payback for their downed buddy. Rocking a completely ruthless look, the summoner gets hyped that his read was spot on, while his undead mages line up the counterattack. With exactly 0 drops of mercy, Wei Dao throws his hand out and orders his squad to blow every single one of those nasty mutts to smithereens. A hailstorm of fireballs nukes the targets midair, scorching the beast's fur and turning them to ash before they even hit the ground. The explosive fireworks show completely wipes the camp, taking out all the level 3 gnolls and making the MC's experience bar skyrocket. Once the smoke clears, a massive pile of extra crispy bodies covers the clearing, leaving a heavy scent of absolute destruction everywhere. Resting his magic shovel on his shoulder like it's no big deal, the student celebrates his good luck for finding a grind spot the second he spawned in. Super hyped about the ocean of loot waiting for him, he drives his tool into the dirt, swearing he's gonna bury every single carcass perfectly. 10 minutes of pure elbow grease later, the shovel sits in the grass, surrounded by a bunch of glowing orbs packed with pure magic energy. Sitting on the dirt to give his arms a break, the gravedigger checks the panel, seeing a bunch of corpse oils, incense, and a hidden skill manual. Holding the mystic rune shaped like an eye, the kid is totally mind-blown to realize he scored a super rare system analysis spell. Geeking out over the glowing book in his hands, the young guy just keeps celebrating, knowing this new magic radar is gonna be a massive carry. Hyped about the drop, Wei Dao cheers that this spell is gonna save him an absolute fortune on buying skill books. Looking over at his giant boar, he realizes his recent exp farm is almost enough to evolve his bone beast one more time. To speedrun the upgrade, the kid pops open the little wooden box and pulls out that sketchy dark finger. Pressing the mystic artifact directly against the giant creature, the summoner announces it's go time. A violent blast of purple energy erupts instantly, completely wrapping around the beast. The system gives the thumbs up, confirming the skeleton boar successfully evolved into the beast general class. Checking out its crazy new form, the kid is floored to see his summon's overall power level almost hit the 2,000-point mark. Super satisfied with the mega buff, he decides to officially name his overpowered monster Pep. Keeping the momentum going, the MC pops the magic incense to farm some quick exp and level up his skeleton May. With a quick flick of the wrist, he snaps his fingers looking confident as hell and greenlights his creature's direct promotion. Once again, the magic aura floods the zone, turning his basic summons into something straight out of a night. Just like that, the glowing panel drops the news that the mage broke its limit and hit the insane boss rank. Staring at his new spooky minion rocking a red cloak, the student hypes up the drip and dubs his new ally Aints. With his army fully juiced up, the adventurer stretches his arms, ready for the next phase of the grind. He starts marching with heavy steps through the thick woods, looking for more blood and bigger challenges. Picking up speed through the trees, Wei Dao swears he's gonna turn this whole orc lair entirely upside down. Just up ahead, a squad of brutal minotaurs carrying massive axes is patrolling the zone, grunting aggressively. Without a single warning, a hurricane of fireballs rips through the air dead straight at the beastly squad. One of the huge monsters stops in his tracks, completely clueless about where that random flash of light just came from. With zero time to react, the beast eats the fire blast directly and gets launched into next week by the explosion. Running the perfect gank, the kid points forward and orders his summons to launch an all-out assault. Pissed off by the cheap shot, the minotaurs hoist their heavy weapons and let out a roar of pure rage. Covered in his dark aura, the MC goads the enemies, wanting to throw down until they drop. The clapback comes in the form of a ruthless magic barrage that absolutely tortures the invading battalion. 3 hours of straight slaughter later, the giant skeleton boar is still steamrolling the beasts without breaking a sweat. Looking at the bodies littering the ground, the system pings that the requirements are met, and his class automatically ranks up. A bright flash covers the guy as his immortal skill gets a totally busted upgrade for damage transfer. Checking out his new trick, he's mind-blown, realizing that as long as he has enough summons, he's basically wearing God mode. On top of that, the magic shovel unlocked a freaky passive that lets him dig up ancient graves to revive targets as loyal minions. Resting the tool on his shoulder, the student chuckles, admitting this weird new ability is straight-up villain behavior. Out of nowhere, a razor-sharp arrow zips out of a thick bush at insane speed. The projectile cuts through the air like a bullet, aiming dead center for the adventurer's completely exposed back. Catching the sketchy movement out of the corner of his eye, he turns his head, sensing the incoming doom. But the kid can't dodge in time and takes a direct hit, getting blasted backward by the sheer force. Way over in the distance, one of his bone mages violently explodes, soaking up all the lethal damage from that cheap shot. The MC's body skids hard across the grass, with the arrow totally lodged in his chest. But he just stands right back up and the arrow drops to the dirt, showing he didn't even catch a scratch. Scanning the area with razor-sharp eyes, the young guy lets out a massive sigh of relief that he isn't a goner. Super impressed by the pop quiz, he celebrates that his damage transfer completely hard-carried him. Feeling that their boss was in danger, the giant skeleton boar lets out an ear-splitting roar of pure fury. The heavy beast charges in hot, tearing through the tall grass to hunt down the cowardly sniper hiding in the brush. Showing off ridiculous agility, a gigantic minotaur leaps into the air, dodging the brutal rush by a hair. Knowing this guy isn't just some random mob, the kid fires up his analysis magic instantly. The system tags the monster as Yason, an absolutely terrifying minotaur boss rocking the elite sniper class. The student's eyes pop out of his head, totally shocked to see this monster actually has a brain and its own unique class. Not giving the young guy a second to process, the massive boss fires another nuke of an arrow through the With the projectile sinking deep into his own shoulder, the kid stumbles back, groaning from the heavy direct hit. The weapon fades into magic dust, as he admits he'd definitely be pushing up daisies if it wasn't for his protective passive. Seeing his target still standing, the brutal monster drops his guard and decides to just run in and throw hands. Fully confident, Wei Dao announces the bad guy's turn is officially over, and now it's his turn to deal some damage. The creature freezes up, looking totally confused as to why this tiny human is acting so cocky. In the blink of an eye, the MC hits top speed, totally vanishing from the sniper's line of sight. The kid leads his undead army in a full-blown tactical retreat, declaring he literally has zero obligation to fight right now. Raging hard at the sudden hit and run, the boss shatters the ground and kicks off a psycho chase through the woods. Just ahead, the bone boar is kicking up dirt while the enemy screams at them to stop running away. The student slams the brakes when he suddenly runs face first into the entrance of a massive, rocky cave. Tiptoeing into the pitch black, he nearly jumps out of his skin when he trips over a skeleton just laying there. Weirded out by the setup, the summoner notices a crazy amount of human bones dumped all over this creepy spot. Dozens of remains carpet the stone floor, making an absolutely terrifying horror movie trail. Suddenly, the adventurer's eyes go wide as it clicks just walked straight into a flawless trap. With an earth-shattering boom, massive boulders come crashing down, completely sealing off the cave exit in seconds. In the dead of the darkness, dozens of red eyes turn on in the shadows, totally thirsty for blood. Not backing down at all, Wei Dao gives a slow clap, praising the monster's big brain strat to corner its prey. Going full throttle on his dark power, he yells out that he's definitely not checking out that easily. A massive horde of minotaurs leaps out of the dark, roaring and rushing the squad's squishy defense line. Heavy arrows rain down non-stop, forcing the skulls to tank the brutal hits with their own bones. The undead mages take some serious hits, as the blades punch right through their elemental shields. Totally chill in the middle of the crossfire, the kid drops the fact that the enemy's gear is gonna break way before he runs out of troops. Calling for a ruthless clapback, he points forward and orders his crew to blow all those cocky beasts to the moon. Blazing spells absolutely nuke the battalion, triggering a brutal massacre lit up by purple flames. The monsters get roasted with zero mercy, while the system panel spams the guy's vision with fat stacks of experience. A holy beam of light drops from the ceiling, confirming he hit level 12 right in the middle of a warzone. Cutting right through the smoke, the massive boss pops back up, swinging a heavy axe straight at the student. Blind with rage after seeing his goons get trashed, the leader curses the human out for having so much audacity. Ready to throw down, Wei Dao gets hyped that dropping this elite boss is gonna dump even more exp into his account. Pissed off by the human's disrespect, the giant minotaur boss points his finger and orders his squad to end him. Instantly, pillars of purple energy erupt from the floor, hitting the creature dead on. The monster howls in pain as the skeleton mages just keep dropping magic fire bombs on him without a break. Completely losing his mind, the big guy jumps into the air, swinging his heavy axe and tells the kid to go to hell. The MC just watches the lethal dive bomb, calmly stating he's gonna bury the guy right after. With a devastating crash, the creature buries his blade into the ground, setting off a massive shockwave. Right in the middle of the dust cloud, a literal bone hand shoots out, grabbing the boss's weapon with an iron grip. The Minotaur curses, super frustrated that he can't yank his own axe out of that ridiculous hold. Chilling behind his elite mage, Wei Dao flashes a cocky grin and announces it's officially checkmate. Refusing to take the L, the monster roars and charges up some heavy flames in his free hand. But before he can even fire it off, the giant bone boar blasts a wave of fire straight into his face. Using the opening, the young guy jumps in and delivers a savage smack with his shovel dead center on the target's head. The crash of the magic tool against that beefy body sets off a blinding flash of light. Unable to guard against the combo, the boss gets swallowed whole by a violent energy explosion. The system drops a congrats for the takedown, bumping him to level 13, while the kid praises how brutal his summons are. Spinning the shovel like a pro, the summoner says it's finally his turn to flex his own skills. Right away, dozens of glowing orbs pop out of the fresh graves, lighting up the entire cave. The kid is totally mind-blown by the mountain of brand new loot, spotting incense and even a battle axe. Gripping his new treasure, he lets out an excited laugh, swearing he's about to make a small fortune. Out of nowhere, hyperfast arrows slice through the air, heading straight for the distracted young guy. A sketchy, white-haired minotaur flashes a psycho smile, saying he's been waiting for a really long time. With insane reflexes, the MC slides backward, dodging the incoming fire just in the nick of time. Confused about the random ambush, he stares down at the heavy arrows sticking out of the stone floor. The sniper's eyes go wide, completely shocked his target dodged that easily. Pointing a finger, the kid talks trash, asking if the beast seriously thought he was out of mana. The spooky army rises up again, as the guy drops a sarcastic apology for disappointing the monster. Super confused, the sniper asks how a scrub level 1 summoner is controlling that many mobs. Leaking a terrifying aura, Wei Dao claps back, demanding to know why this specific beast actually has a functioning brain. Out of patience, the human orders his skulls to wipe that cocky calf off the mat. The undead mages charge and looking savage, cloaked in phantom flames, ready to execute the hit. Seeing the horde pushing up, the sniper warns his enemy not to celebrate too early. The monster lets out a deafening roar while the skulls launch a barrage of fireballs his way. A colossal explosion sweeps the battlefield, totally stuffing the skeleton mage's push. Capitalizing on the chaos, the beast readies his bow and fires off the earth arrow. The glowing shot tears through the air at stupid speeds, packing a massive payload. Mid-flight, the arrow splits into a bunch of energy beams that slam into the ground with insane force. Freaking out, Wei Dao realizes a second too late that he's dealing with a massive AoE magic skill. The glowing meteor shower completely wrecks the zone, shattering rocks everywhere. With zero chance to block, the squishy summons get completely vaporized by the crushing magic. Falling back fast, the summoner calls his boar and elite mage to take the front line. Answering the call, the giant bone beast charges forward, dropping a totally terrifying roar. The sniper is left speechless by the ridiculous speed of the creature barreling right at him. In a flash, the brutal skeletal monster lands a massive tackle right on the target. The white-haired minotaur tries to brace for impact, but admits he can't tank that kind of pressure. Going all out, the boar crushes the sniper into the dirt, setting off a huge shockwave of destruction. The brutal crash makes the minotaur cough up blood as he lets out a groan of pure agony. Right then, the red mage floats up right next to the enemy, charging a spell in his hands. Without an ounce of mercy, the skull shoves the fireball point-blank into the busted beast's face. The magic power drills into the monster's body, making his chest glow like crazy. The overloaded energy hits critical mass, setting off a fatal detonation that lights up the whole zone. Watching the smoke clear, the MC clicks his tongue, calling that takedown totally pathetic. The young guy crouches near the downed body and realizes the beast is actually still breathing. Even though he really wants to bury the guy, he decides to haul the monster back so the higher-ups can investigate this whole smart monster thing. Way back at the portal entrance, the guards are getting sketched out about how long it's taking the students to leave the dungeon. Right then, the military base's giant magic circle starts glowing super bright. A massive energy tornado takes over the teleport pad, seriously spooking everyone standing around. Slowly, the intimidating horde of skeleton mages marches right through the spatial rift. The soldiers point at the light, super relieved that someone finally made it back. The kid casually walks out flanked by his summons, and an officer recognizes him immediately. Completely mind-blown, the security team just stares at the literal mountain of dead minotaurs dumped on the floor. Walking up to an officer, Wei Dao explains that a smart boss trapped the students inside a cave. The guard's eyes pop out of his head, and he says he's gonna call in the high-tier hunters to sweep the zone. Without skipping a beat, the knocked-out sniper's body gets unceremoniously dumped on the concrete. Pointing at his captive, the summoner casually drops that they don't need to go through all that trouble. The soldier's jaw hits the floor, asking if this kid seriously captured a level 16 boss completely solo. Acting like it's just another Tuesday, the guy asks where he can go cash in his loot. Still completely shell-shocked by the flex, the officer points toward the trading office just down the hall. The student says thanks for the tip and turns his back, leaving the guards in a state of absolute confusion. Strolling into the office, the MC greets the receptionist super politely. He dumps his entire inventory, dropping a literal mountain of horns on her desk for appraisal. The clerk nearly jumps out of her chair, seeing that ridiculous amount of materials dropped all at once. Checking the stash closely, she guarantees the whole pile easily goes for over 320,000 on the market. Grinning from ear to ear, the kid holds up his phone, demanding an instant transfer. The bank system pings immediately, confirming the fat stack just hit his account. With his wallet looking heavy, he steps out into the sunshine, deciding to hit the market to cop some new gear. Taking a chill walk in the late afternoon, the MC arrives at the massive trading market building. The kid crosses his fingers, praying he doesn't bump into that scammer from last time. But out of nowhere, old Zhang pops up, calling the kid bro and asking if he was looking for him. Already over this dude, Wei Dao groans, asking why it had to be him again. The summoner tells the guy to get lost, saying he doesn't have any good loot to flip today. Chasing after the student, the hustler begs him not to be so cold and offers to show him some premium stash. Keeping his pace, the MC shoots it down, swearing he's not looking and definitely not buying. Faking a sob story, Zhang pulls out a book and a potion, crying about how these evolution items will never find a good home. Hearing that, the young guy slams the brakes, suddenly super interested in the mystery merch. The system flags them as an elite guard summon tome and a potion, leaving the kid totally stunned by how rare they are. Not wasting a second, Wei Dao gets right in the vendor's face, asking how much for both. Catching him slipping, the old man flashes a smug smirk, reminding the kid he literally just said he wasn't buying anything. Looking a bit embarrassed, the guy changes his tune, claiming there's always room to negotiate if the gear is actually god tier. Immediately after, he dumps a massive pile of heavy battle axes and shields right on the floor. The merchant checks out the totally average loot pile and lowballs an offer of 150,000. Pissed at the garbage offer, the young guy grabs an axe, saying this weapon alone goes for 100,000, telling him to stop playing games. The scammer takes a step back, totally shocked the kid learned the market prices so fast. Shifting gears quickly, the old man prices the book at 50,000 and the potion at 150,000, offering a straight swap. They lock the deal in right there, as the student snatches the new magic items out of the vendor's hands. Zhang drops one last piece of advice, telling the kid to stop showing his hand so easily to people. Taking it in, the summoner admits the hustler is actually a total genius when it comes to business. The old man waves goodbye, telling the kid to hit him up whenever he's got more loot to offload. Walking off with his skulls, Wei Dao admits that even though the guy is a total shark, his items are definitely legit. Hiding out in a dark alley, a sketchy dude tracks his target from a distance, celebrating that the kid is finally flying solo. The hitman swears that if the kid wants to blame someone for his demise, he should blame himself for ticking off the wrong people. Dead silent, the guy spawns a magic dagger that glows with a heavy blue light. The criminal sprints at breakneck speed right toward the student's back, lining up the fatal strike. Feeling the killer intent creeping up, the MC snaps his head around, demanding to know who's there. The attacker leaps into the air with his dagger out, screaming that the Cayenne family put a massive bounty on the kid's head. The deadly blow lands perfectly, burying into the bones of a skeleton mage that jumped in to tank the hit. Flashing a psycho smile, the mercenary tells the kid to catch a one-way ticket to hell. The blue blade cuts through the air, ripping a massive gash across the target's back and painting the floor red. Standing right behind the student, the attacker sheathes his weapon, complaining that taking such a freebie mission was a total waste of time. Totally flipping the script, Wei Dao grabs the mercenary's shoulder with an absolute death grip. The guy turns his head, absolutely terrified, completely clueless as to how this kid is even still breathing. Gripping a razor-sharp dagger of his own, the MC casually mentions he'd rather not talk about it. Moving like a literal assassin, the young guy sinks the weapon straight into the hitman's neck without a second thought. The criminal gets blasted backward by the force, coughing up blood, entirely unable to process what just went down. Sprawled out in the dirt, the mercenary takes his last breaths, swearing that getting clapped like this was literally impossible. The system pops off, confirming the elimination of the level 39 human hitman, cashing in 30,000 experience points for the... Staring at the epic dagger in his hand, the summoner jokes that he never thought this weapon's first blood would actually be human. Time flies by and night drops, lighting up the dead zone with a bright silver moon. After wrapping up the burial out in the woods, the kid scores some new potions, herbs, and some totally sketchy-looking cash. Holding the freaky loot, he's totally blown away, realizing that putting a human 6 feet under gives totally different drops. Checking out the bill with a skull printed on it, the guy wonders how the heck he's supposed to spend underworld monopoly money. Out of nowhere, dozens of phantoms start swirling around the cash, instantly booting up the underworld shop system. A massive glowing green interface pops right out of the floor, unlocking a sketchy ghost catalog for him. The kid stares at the giant screen, totally mesmerized by how insanely magical this ghost market is. The magic shelves show off totally broken skill books with price tags hitting hundreds of millions of coins. The shop is also loaded with magic staves and top-tier armor, but the prices are an absolute joke. Looking down at his sad little $10 bill, the student gets super annoyed, asking what he's even supposed to buy with this pocket chain. Left with zero options, the young guy closes the glowing screen, accepting the fact that he's gonna have to grind cash the hard way. Putting his shopping spree on hold, he focuses his purple mana, totally locked in on upgrading his skeleton guard right now. He slams the spell into the grass, firing up the summoning circle with a massive flash of light. A bone warrior rocking a huge metal shield rises up from the magic, waiting for order. Checking the stats, the MC confirms this guy is a pure 100% tank build. Not wasting a second, the guy slaps his glowing hand right onto the skull's forehead and triggers the evolution magic. The energy mutates the basic summon into a colossal skeleton general decked out in heavy black armor. Checking the numbers, the kid is hyped about the beast's vitality, knowing he just scored the ultimate meat shield. Super pumped about his new tank, he names the monster Little Qiang while the beast lets out a totally menacing roar. Holding the glowing purple potion, Wei Dao declares it's officially time to test the upgrade on his elite mage. The guy dumps the magic juice directly onto his mystic minion's red hood. The undead goes through a violent mutation, turning into a general equipped with a massive, deadly scythe. The summoner checks out the monster's ridiculous spirit power, betting this guy is gonna hard carry the next group fight. Feeling good about his squad's massive power spike, the young guy stretches his arms, deciding to head home and crash for the night. Lurking in the shadows of the trees, the old neighbor watches the whole thing. Super impressed, the kid managed to drop a veteran mercenary. The next morning, the sun hits the prodigy girl's family's insanely huge, fancy mansion. In the meeting room, the old man reports to the family boss that he personally watched the student completely body a Tier 3 hitman. Sweating bullets, the underling drops the weirdest part. The kid actually buried the guy and started chatting with his summons like a total psycho. Super confused by the report, the head of the house wonders why on earth the kid would waste time digging a grave for his enemy. The old guy argues that the kid totally doesn't need a babysitter, and that the young miss is just being overly dramatic about his safety. The boss shoots that down, pointing out his daughter wants to settle the score herself and wouldn't let anyone else take out her rival. The leader gives the order to keep tailing him until the kid moves into the university, where the military will actually handle his security. Hours later, the massive space vortex fires up, shooting magic lightning all over the forest floor. Wei Dao jumps through the portal, super hyped to finish exploring the rest of the orc lair he missed last time. Moving fast, Wei Dao sprints through the woods, dead set on fully clearing the entire orc zone. Just ahead, a massive mob of minotaurs is grouped up around some sketchy altar in the middle of the trees. Hiding behind a tree trunk, the kid scopes out the scene, thinking this whole setup looks incredibly sus. The system tags the big guy as a minotaur priest boss, getting the young guy super curious about the magic beast. It instantly clicks, realizes the sniper baited him away last time, just to keep this sacrifice ritual safe. Catching wind of the intruder, the beast leader sniffs the air and announces there's a crasher in the zone. Totally pissed about the interruption, the boss barks an order for his goons to grab the target immediately. Following orders, the minotaurs raise their weapons and go completely feral, rushing in and kicking up a dust storm. Staying ice cold, the MC calls out Little Qiang, ordering his elite tank to eat the enemy charge. An absolute fortress of purple shields snaps into place right in front of the summoner. The beasts slam their axes full force into the magic wall, but the bone defense tanks the hit without giving an inch. Using the lockdown, Wei Dao tags and aints the mage and gives the green light for the immediate countersweep. A savage firebomb barrage nukes the monsters, setting off a massive explosion that sends everyone flying. Mind blown by the absolute wipe, the priest wonders how his squad just got deleted that fast. Blind with rage, the boss charges up a heavy red aura, locking in a massive spell. The beast throws his arms up, begging Mother Earth to bless him with the ultimate power to crush the invader. But a giant skeletal hoof stomps down, totally cutting off the monster's prayer mid-sentence. The MC orders Peppa to go absolutely all out, throwing the priest into complete panic mode. The massive bone beast lands a brutal head-on tackle right into the enemy's gut. The sheer force of the hit launches the Minotaur leader backward, slamming him hard into the dirt. The giant boar charges in to secure the kill, while the monster begs him to back off. Showing exactly zero mercy, the creature stomps the priest flat with its front legs, kicking dirt everywhere. The system locks in the W, handing over 20,000 experience points for dropping the boss. Bathed in a golden light beam, the kid dings level 14, feeling the power surge. Walking up to the body, he thinks it's super clutch that the monster dropped its loot before even getting buried. The panel pops up, showing the prize is a super rare advanced meditation skill book. Holding the floating manual, the young guy grins, totally amazed, calling this drop a literal godsend. Not wasting a second, he hits learn, absorbing the book's energy right on the spot. A flash of light hits the guy's brain as the spell gets permanently hardwired into his head. Curious to see the numbers, the summoner sits cross-legged on the dirt, deciding to test how busted the passive really is. The magic starts dumping passive exp into his bar, making the student instantly hit level 15. Totally blown away by the buffs, he jokes that he could literally just sit at home meditating until exam day. Happy with his haul, the adventurer jumps through the magic portal to head back to the city. A few days chill by in the real world under the hot afternoon sun. Locked in his room, the MC stays on his grind, spamming meditation to stack up his stats. The young guy opens his glowing eyes, announcing that the big day of the unified exam is finally. Bursting with energy, the kid jumps up, declaring it's officially time to show off what he's really made of. The massive arena at the First Academy of Qingyang is absolutely packed for the biggest event of the year. Up in the bleachers, the students are buzzing, taking bets on what kind of mobs got cooked up for the test. Up on stage, the proctor takes the mic, letting everyone know the test mobs are locked and loaded. He drops the details, saying the targets scale from level 10 to 20, split between regular mobs and lethal bosses. The guy points at a student, telling him to pick his poison based on his own power level. Over the speakers, the judge officially calls up the first challenger, Liu Ming, to get things started. Looking super agile, the swordsman jumps and sticks a superhero landing right in the middle of the platform. The challenger demands to throw down with 10 normal minotaurs and one level 15 boss. The second the beast pack spawns in, the proctor gives the green light to engage whenever he's ready. Locked in, Liu Ming pops his skill, summoning the Crimson Eye armor. The guy's body gets totally coated in the red defensive gear, giving off some serious pressure. He pulls out a glowing scarlet sword, while the crowd totally loses it over the rare weapon. Some kid gossips that the blade buffs damage and the rich kid dropped 50,000 on it. Hearing that rumor, Wei Dao gets super ticked off, realizing that Scammer bought his identical sword for absolute pennies. Without dropping a beat, the warrior dashes at ridiculous speed, launching a lightning-fast combo. Leaving a trail of red light, he slices across the whole battlefield, dropping the beasts flawlessly. The guy hits the brakes, sliding across the arena floor after landing his finisher. Looking super smug, the swordsman snaps his fingers, and the monsters instantly explode into pieces right behind him. The Jumbotron flashes his score while the judge calls game, bringing Su Xiaojing up to the stage. A majestic holy sword drops straight from the heavens, burying itself into the arena floor. Gripping her weapon tight, the girl shocks the entire stadium by asking to solo 5 level 20 goblin bosses. The students in the stands are totally mind-blown, wondering if the angel class is really that busted. Watching from the back, the MC flashes a cocky smile, knowing the school idol only picked that difficulty to try and style on him. Dozens of green flashes pop off, spawning the hyper-dangerous creatures right onto the stage. The brutal goblins raise their spears, roaring at the lone student like they want smoke. Completely unfazed, the girl pops her angel wings, setting off a blinding explosion of holy light. With a massive jump, she floats gracefully right above the totally confused enemies. The swordsman swings her giant blade, firing off a slicing wave of pure holy energy. The colossal golden wave rips the arena floor apart, pushing forward with unstoppable force. With zero chance to guard, the 5 bosses get absolutely vaporized by the lethal strike in one hit. Up in the stands, the guys are literally shaking, terrified by how brutal and fast that wipe was. Super hyped, the judge screams into the mic that the student just bagged 300 points, shattering the record. The entire crowd completely loses their minds, hyping up the school idol's ridiculous power. Walking past the summoner, the girl shoots him a look, telling him it's his turn to hold the L. Up in the VIP box, a director gives old Wang props for his students and gossips about the hidden class kid. Looking cocky as hell, the academy leader claims he's got total faith in the kid's strength. Curious about the hype, the rival asks what difficulty the rookie summoner is gonna queue up for. Thinking about it, Wang figures that if the kid actually grinded, handling 10 bosses won't be an issue at all. Hearing that crazy take, Director Meng roasts his rival, reminding him the arena's hard cap is 5, let alone 10 monsters at once. Not losing an ounce of confidence, old Wang just smirks and tells him to just wait and watch. Right after, the proctor on stage gets on the mic, calling Wei Dao up loud and clear for his turn. As the kid casually strolls toward the stage, Su Xiaojing runs up asking for a quick favor. The MC totally gets it and swears he'll go all out, but only if she promises to back his family up in return. In the stands, the students are furious about the guy's audacity, demanding a favor from the school idol in front of literally everybody. Without blinking, the girl agrees to the terms as long as he actually beats her score, and the guy takes the bet on the spot, telling her to just watch. With the deal locked in, the young guy steps heavily onto the ramp leading up to the war zone. He walks with heavy steps right to the dead center of the massive empty arena, ready to kick off his practical test. Dripping with arrogance, the summoner points to the ceiling and demands to fight 100 level 20 slime bosses all at the same time. The proctor totally blue screens at the insane request, asking over the mic if he actually heard that completely unhinged number right. The crowd absolutely erupts, calling the student a complete psycho, swearing he'd pass out from exhaustion just trying to swing at that many mobs. Freaking out about the kid's safety, the judge tries to give him an out to change his mind, but he insists he's totally locked in. Acting super cocky, the kid adds that the only reason he didn't ask for 200 is because the school gym is literally too small to fit them. Facepalming hard, Meng sighs at the rookie's ego, while Wang just tells them to release the mobs so they don't totally crush his vibe. Unable to say no, the proctor sighs like a defeated man and just tells the kid to watch his back out there. Instantly, dozens of massive blue magic circles start popping up all over the battlefield. A gigantic bubbling slime drops heavily onto the floor, kicking up a massive dust cloud everywhere. Ready for absolute war, Wei Dao ignites his hands with phantom flames, commanding his undead minions to step out of the shadows. Wrapped in a dark aura, the terrifying red-cloaked skull spawns in, leading an entire horde of skeleton mages. A second later, the colossal bone boar drops in, roaring like a maniac to flex on anyone in its way. The students shake in absolute terror, recognizing leader and general tier creatures, completely mind-blown by their classmates' busted lineup. The arena instantly gets flooded with dozens of jelly bosses, jumping aggressively toward their lone target. Moving fast, the summoner orders his frontliners to tank the enemy's corrosive poison. The army falls in line immediately, with the infantry throwing up an unbreakable wall of heavy shields. Chilling safely behind the perfect cover, the mage battalion readies their purple spells, waiting for the green light to fire. A literal storm of fireballs rains down, nuking the slimes and setting off devastating explosions all over the stage. Capitalizing on his massive numbers advantage, the kid points forward, telling his elite units to rush in and secure the back. The overpowered red mage and the giant beasts sprint forward, tearing up the field to wipe out the leftover jellies. Leading the charge, the freaky boar absolutely steamrolls the bosses, splashing acid water in every direction. The heavy impact triggers a brutal explosion, turning the monsters to ash in a split second. Giving zero room for a counter, the elite skull spins his massive scythe, perfectly slicing a slime in half with a lethal cut. Jaw-dropped by the slaughter, the students realize the level 20 beasts don't even have the stats to fight back. Watching the complete massacre, Su Xiaojing sweats bullets, finally understanding this was the real power her rival was bragging about. Standing with his back to a literal inferno, Wei Dao throws his arms wide, declaring that true art is an explosion. An ear-shattering chain of booms totally wipes the arena, sending massive fireballs all the way to the gym ceiling. The system panel finally dings, announcing the wipeout of the 100 bosses and calling time on the practical exam. Completely speechless, the judges admit they just watched history get made at this academy. The Jumbotron flashes a flawless max score of 900 points, while the judge screams the perfect result into the mic. With the absolute stomp officially confirmed, the entire stadium erupts, cheering and screaming for the kid's insane talent. Buried in the hyped crowd, Qian Zhao punches the air, completely blinded by rage. The snobby swordsman grinds his teeth, super salty and refusing to accept that this trash-tier kid is so ridiculously overpowered. After stepping out of the arena, the MC meets up with the prodigy girl, giving her props and asking about that favor they agreed on. Getting serious, he admits he's paranoid his rival's family might try some shady stuff against his relatives once he leaves town. Catching the vibe of the political drama, the heiress looks at the guy and asks what exactly he wants her to do about it. Putting his hands together, Wei Dao begs her to hide his family and set up a security detail, swearing he'll pay back the solid later. Sizing up the easy request, the girl promises that playing bodyguard for a few people is literally zero hassle for her. Relieved to get that massive stress off his chest, the kid steps up and gives his classmate a tight hug, thanking her from the bottom of his heart. Caught totally off guard, the school idol blushes beet red while some random student screams, threatening to end the summoner for touching her. Hours after the massive hype at school, the starry night takes over the glowing city. Chilling in his quiet room, the student sits at his desk, totally glued to his bright computer monitor. He punches his login info into the province's main database to finally check his official ranking for the unified exam. Out of nowhere, his apartment doorbell rings super loud, completely ruining his focus. Jumping out of his chair, the young guy walks down the hall, yelling that he's coming to get it. The guy grips the handle and yells out, asking who's knocking at this crazy hour. Pulling the door open, he nearly has a heart attack seeing his parents and his little sister just standing in the hall. The little girl puffs her cheeks, complaining he took forever, and accuses her big bro of doing weird stuff locked in his room alone. Super hyped about the surprise pop-in, the MC bursts out laughing, admitting he had no clue they'd get here this fast. The family piles into the apartment, chatting it up, while the dad mentions they rushed over the second he called. Super nosy and ready to snoop, the little girl sprints straight for the computer chair, dying to see what he was trying to hide. Staring at the glowing monitor, the girl's eyes go wide, completely mind-blown by what she's reading. The site shows off a totally broken score of 975, locking in the undisputed #1 spot for the entire province. Shaking with hype, the little sister turns around screaming that he actually bagged the highest score in the whole region. Flashing a cocky smirk, the kid ruffles the shorty's hair, bragging that it was just him putting in minimum effort. Salty about his huge ego, she shoots him a death glare, swearing she's gonna totally crush that score when it's her turn to take the test. Blown away by the crazy numbers, his parents ask what kind of elite university he's planning to pick with those stats. Totally locked in, Wei Dao reveals his endgame was always getting into the Madu University of Professionals. The student gives them a heads up that he's gotta travel in a few days, telling his family to stay safe under the Su clan's protection. Patting his boy on the shoulder looking super proud, the dad promises they'll be fine and tells him to watch his back in the big city. Already feeling the homesickness, the kid hugs his parents super tight in a really emotional send-off. Time flies, and soon the massive buildings of the famous university are glowing under the morning sun. Strolling down the campus's modern walkway, the summoner takes in the sights, mentally hyping himself up for the new vibe. Gripping his golden ticket acceptance letter, the freshman looks totally locked in, ready to kick off this new school grind. But the welcome wagon is total trash, with two upperclassmen telling him to go stand in a corner and wait. Right then, a super pretty girl with long dark hair rolls up with a suitcase, politely introducing herself as the freshman Nanjai. Losing their minds, the two seniors start totally simping over the new girl, hyping up how gorgeous she is. One of them instantly offers to carry her bag, and she just smiles and says thanks for the help. Annoyed by the double standard, Wei Dao grumbles that he literally got there first and was treated like a ghost. Completely ignoring the kid, the senior walks off with Nanjai, promising to give her the VIP campus tour. Suddenly, a chubby freshman comes sprinting like his life depends on it, hauling a massive green bag on his back. He slams the brakes right in front of the pink-haired senior and introduces himself as Pei Kyan. Checking his admission letter, the older student totally roasts him, joking that the newbie's name is basically a bad luck charm. Not wasting time, the guide tells the freshman to fall in line and follow him through the courtyard. Checking out the chubby dude, the summoner realizes the guy's aura is actually pretty stacked. Super curious about the energy flex, Wei Dao immediately pops his analytic vision magic. The system panel drops the bomb that Pei Kyan is rocking the hidden blood sacrifice priest class. Shocked by the scan, the MC realizes his new bro is also a super rare prodigy. Wei Dao introduces himself as an undead summoner, making his buddy completely freak out over the crazy coincidence. The dude gets super hyped, saying the power to call up skeletons is incredibly badass, but the kid just tries to play it cool. While they walk through the campus, the senior explains that the dorms are ranked based on pure power levels. Flexing his ego, the senior brags that he made it into District 4, soaking up the praise from the chubby kid. The squad finally hits the reception desk, where Elder Chin is waiting to process the freshmen. Playing the boss, the guide tells the three newbies to cough up their admission letters right now. The three official papers get slapped down side by side on the old man's desk. Scanning the docs, the receptionist asks if Nanjai is part of the legendary Jijing family. Once she nods, the old guy fast-tracks her a key to a luxury villa right in District 1. Super salty about the god-tier placement, the senior questions the call, totally pissing off the elder. Sweating bullets, the pink-haired student tries to play it off and hide his embarrassment in front of the others. Getting back to business, the old man assigns Wei Dao and Pei Kyan to share a room in District 2. Absolutely mind blown, the guide can't compute how these two absolute randoms managed to score such a high rank. Stepping away from the desk, the chubby freshman spots some drama going down nearby. Hyped up, Pei Kyan points over, breaking the news that the famous Su Xiaojing also got into the university. Hearing the noise, the swordsman turns her head and instantly locks eyes with her ultimate. Not missing his shot, the chubby bro rushes over trying to spit game and introduce himself to the girl. Completely ignoring the guy's existence, she marches straight up to the MC, demanding to know what room he got. Left hanging, the chubby kid grumbles, figuring the school idol is already totally crushing on his friend. Wei Dao just drops his room number, pointing out that them being placed so close is a pretty crazy coincidence. Happy with the intel, the prodigy girl turns her back and throws a peace sign to her rival. Right then, the summoner spots someone else rolling up and asks who she is. A totally elegant woman wearing a hat drops a charming intro, revealing she's Wang Xiaoya, the new summoning instructor. Keeping the chill vibes going, the teacher guesses he must be the famous rookie genius everyone's talking about. Without any warning, the woman flicks the kid right on the forehead, swearing she expects big things from him. The student rubs his head, completely lost as to why his new boss just randomly assaulted him. Slapping his shoulder, the instructor gives him a heads up that the welcome party goes down tomorrow. Dripping with charisma, the woman waves goodbye and casually strolls off across the courtyard. The two freshmen just stand there frozen, thinking that level of energy was absolutely unhinged. Watching from afar, Su Xiaojing rolls her eyes in total disgust, calling all men absolute pigs. Out of nowhere, a violent wave of purple energy blows up, tearing open a massive vortex right in the sky. The students completely panic, trying to figure out what the heck that terrifying rift even is. Staring down the anomaly, a campus officer starts sweating cold, recognizing that a literal ruin just spawned. The guy sprints like a madman down the walkway, screaming that he needs to warn the director about the threat right this second.